I'll blame you.
Oh, well.
It's not my own osteoarthritis problem. It's Thank you. Thanks. All right, 129. We'll give Louise a minute.
We're on the air. Hi, Louise.
Hi. She's here, see? I knew. Good. Good to see you. Thank you. All right, I think we should. You didn't turn that on, did you?
I did.
You did? Okay.
Go on.
Okay. Oh, 1:30, but it's only 1:29 by my watch. But we'll call the meeting to order, please. We're all here, with the exception of Susan, who is ill and will not be here. So, we do have a quorum. And we have Tina here, staff, and Barbara, and Joe. Joe, how do you spell Joe's last name? Pam.
COLLENTRO.
Joe.
Did you bring candy for everybody?
Did you get that, Bob? You got that? Okay.
ULLENTRO.
Yep.
2 L's.
We welcome you, everyone, all of you, and Sharon Corbin. You know Sharon? Bob, you got her name too. Okay.
You may recognize her from a famous
Angel.
production.
You can see,
Oh, I know.
see the wings now.
Just like you, Chris.
Hardly.
And just speaking about, I'll make a quick announcement because we were talking about this under the announcements. Oh, let me just first remind everyone, this is an open meeting. We follow the rules of the open meeting law. So get that out there on the table so it joggles everyone's memory. But under announcements, and just as I was leaving the Loving Stitches group to come over here, Sharon was saying it is the fourth Wednesday of the month. The craft group will be meeting starting in September.
Right.
So everyone, this is a great opportunity to do some creative things, and Sharon's kind of found a different day, hoping it will be more appealing and more available for people to attend. So,
Fourth Monday
Thank
of the
you.
month, right?
fourth Wednesday
The fourth Wednesday, excuse me.
of the month at 1 o'clock. So, thank you kindly about to do as you're doing that. Okay. Other announcements from anyone? Anyone? Oh, Nancy Levine is here. She just snuck in when I put my head down. So,
Thank you.
I thought I would do a short presentation on the training I went to in May over in Concord on the genius of Marion.
There's a copy of it in everyone's packet.
It's in the packet. I sent it to Pam and she copied it for you. I just thought I would talk about it for about 2 minutes, maybe 3. And then I will pass around information that was given that night on Alzheimer's. Very good information.
I think this is a great way to utilize the announcement time because it really isn't an item that needs a lot of discussion. So
It
I would
is.
encourage people, well, we can, if as a result of your announcing your participation in it and what it was, if people wish to discuss it further, we can, hear that and put it on the agenda for a meeting later on.
Well, the reason I went was because of, in our bylaws, it says take advantage of training or educational, and
Yep.
so I went over there at the Concord of Aging for this presentation of the genius of Marion, and it was done by her son, Banker White. And as I said, I attended it as an educational training session, and I thought it might be of interest to share the information with the board. It was held in the evening, and they served a light supper of sandwiches and salad and dessert and water, which I thought was really pretty nice. And it was extremely well done. The film is about the heartbreak of Alzheimer's disease, the power of the art of art and the meaning of family, the White family, basically. And the story follows Pam White in the early stages of the disease. As her son Banker, the filmmaker, documents her struggles to hang on to a sense of self. It is a very rich, emotional, complex story about one family's struggle to come to terms with Alzheimer's disease. And after Pam is diagnosed with early onset, though Pam is only in her young 60s, she's not a very old woman. Life begins to change ever so slowly for Pam and everyone around her. Her husband has to figure out his role as it evolves from a primary partner to a primary caregiver. Her children, her adult children, find ways to show their love and support while mourning the gradual loss of a husband and the gradual loss of the mother they knew. They record their conversations by Banker, which allows Pam to share memories of their childhood and her mother, who was a painter, Marianne Williams Steele, who also had Alzheimer's and died while she was young. The family resurrects many of her mother's old paintings, which, by the way, Pam does remember, because with Alzheimer's and dementia, things come back to you. And she lives through those paintings, having many happy days talking about she and her mother. You see in the film the struggles of her husband or her children coaxing her to take medicine. Sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. But whether she does or she doesn't, what you do see is a family drawn by this unknown disease, not understanding the disease, to care, support, and importantly, love this woman and show their support and love for the wife and mother who was so different from the wife and mother that they knew. And as sad as it is, it's a beautiful, touching story. I mean, everybody sitting in that auditorium was so overwhelmed with this story that the film was an hour and a half. You see them struggle with the day-to-day tasks of getting her up, fed, and dressed. Sometimes she's cooperative and sometimes she isn't. A very poignant time in the film was when she has a new grandson and they're in the hospital. Everybody's oohing and ahhing over this little baby. And Pam is sitting, staring out the window, totally disconnected from the birth of the grandchild. But what you see through the whole film is the family, including Pam, in every aspect of family activity. Very complex, touching story. Following the film, members of the Alzheimer's Association, they had 2 representatives there. They answered questions and spoke to the group that were there. And it was interesting to note that there were many, many forms of dementia, up to 10 of them, which I listed on this paper for you. They indicated that they support all forms of dementia and that they have a 24-hour hotline 7 days a week with experienced counselors available. I'm going to leave a packet for Tina that you can take and have. And if you want to pass that around to the table, you can look at them, but give them back to Tina at the end of the film.
Thank you.
I found taking the time out of my evening to go to this was so rewarding because you learn so much. Now, my mother had dementia, so it was a very personal evening for me to see, but you have so much support available to you. But to watch this film was really incredible. Very well worth going.
It's a very challenging disease for caregivers.
Oh, it is.
You know, I've had a lot of experience personally, professionally, in my professional career with Alzheimer's, so you're right. It is a very challenging situation.
But what you learn from this is you don't have to fear it.
No. It's like every other disease. If you don't want to fear it, you want to work with it and make the best of it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patty. So I would ask the board, if you wish to discuss this further, we can schedule it for a board meeting, but announcements is a good time just to give a little bit of feedback about some educational event that we've attended, so that's good. Sharing it, and sharing the information is good because it just brings it right to the forefront. So,
Seeing that we're all kind of advancing in age, I get forgetful already.
so,
Oh,
all right.
we all are,
Yeah.
one day at a time.
So, again, I'll ask the board, does anyone wish to put this on the agenda for further discussion at a later meeting? If not, we're going to move on to the minutes of our June 8th meeting. Yes, Chris?
One more, not new business, but just reminding, we have the 25th anniversary of the Friends coming up in September, right?
Right. we do.
So, and just an opportunity, as always, to say thank you. I mean, it's,
Right, lots of nice activities planned for September.
nice celebration.
you know,
Yes.
so I guess we'll have one more, we have the early September meeting too, but
Right.
hopefully we have time to reflect on that, maybe on the next agenda.
Thank you. Okay. You have a copy of the June 8th minutes in your packet. Are there any corrections, omissions? If not, can we accept the minutes?
Well, the only thing I noticed is my name isn't on it as being present.
You weren't there?
You weren't here?
Oh,
You were sick?
oh, okay.
You almost didn't make a quorum. We were gonna come and get you on your sick bed.
Anything else? If not, may I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I move to accept the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you kindly. Okay. So, we have old business, 2 items under old business. An
Friends
update?
report.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to do that. Let's skip right over you. I'm not looking at the bold print on the agenda. I'm looking at the small print, so. We have, speaking of the Friends report.
Okay, so, you
Before you
did
start,
mention.
Barbara.
I'm sorry?
I just want to mention to everyone, there's no minutes from the Friends meeting because there was not a Friends meeting.
Right, right. We didn't get a copy of your minutes, though, today.
They weren't approved until just now.
Okay.
You won't
Maybe
get
I'm
them
talking
until
about the
they're
last
approved.
one, I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Anyway, moving right along here, we will talk about the 25th anniversary for the Friends. It turns out that we have sold every ticket. If someone wants to come and they haven't bought a ticket yet, they have to go on a waiting list. We are going to Kimball's. We're going to have a barbecue and ice cream social. We're very happy about the way things are turning out for this, and we're happy that people are gonna join us to celebrate our 25 years. Also, let's see, you wanna mention what we're doing in October?
October, we're having an Oktoberfest. We don't know where it's gonna be yet, because of the multi-purpose room in the kitchen. In November, we're supposed to have a veterans luncheon, going to be catered by Neshoba Valley Technical High School, and again, we're not sure if that's gonna be here or not.
Yeah. Also, I think, I just added something in November that I think we're going to have, people look forward to our fashion shows for the thrift shop. So I'm thinking that this time we'll have a girls' night out fashion show, and we'll have it in the evening. We can use the multi-purpose room because we don't need to use the kitchen, but hopefully, maybe we'll see one by then. But at any rate, I thought that would be kind of a fun thing to do, and we'll be talking more about that at another time. So, we have things planned for the whole season. We just don't want to bring it all up now. And you know,
We want you to see some products.
yeah, we want some surprises.
Well, that's a lot, I think you've already talked about, I think it's still a lot, so, thank you. That sounds exciting, I think everybody's looking forward to, especially the Kimball's barbecue and social event, I think. There's been a lot of talk about that already, so.
The thrift shop sales will be going $3 bag is happening next week.
Next week, the $3 bag sale at the thrift shop will be next week and the week after. And then the thrift shop will be closed the first week in September.
Okay. Good news. That's good news to share. Thrift shop has quite, I think, a well-followed clientele.
Yeah.
And they love that thrift shop, so. Okay. Any comments, questions for the Friends? Ready to move on? Now we are, if I'm following the agenda correctly, update on the kitchen project, and I guess we've already got a little taste of the impact it's had when we heard them saying, you know, we don't know where this is going to be, but because we don't know that we're going to have the kitchen and we can use the room, and there's been a huge impact I've noticed. I just want to comment. I knew the kitchen was a drawer. People came because of the kitchen. I didn't realize the full impact of that until the kitchen was closed. It's huge, and I've heard many people say, I never see anybody anymore. I miss it so much. It's huge. Not to mention the fact that it's difficult and we have meals that aren't quite the same as they were when Gail had the kitchen available to modify things and et cetera, and for the Meals on Wheels. So I'm asking for an update on the kitchen project and find out where we stand now. And Joe has agreed to come to give us some information. Would you like a chair? Do you?
No. No, thank you. I'm trying to make a quick exit. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but as you know, the first bid we had, we didn't have enough money to accept it. As it turned out, it didn't really matter, because once we checked them out, we lacked some qualifications that we just couldn't hire them. So we rebid it. And we got one bid in, and we opened it the other day, and it's almost twice as much as our first bid. It's $221,344, which is just ridiculous, because it's been scoped out by the architect at about $145,000. I can talk to these people, but here's the issue we're running into, folks, so you're aware of it. We're very disappointed this is happening. We know how much the kitchen means to you. But right now, no matter what we bid, the bids are coming in high. Everybody is busy out there, and I mean busy. We just did the roof. That came in higher than we had anticipated, the roof over the library. We're going to be doing a roof at the high school that's leaking. We've already been told the bids will probably run about 20% higher than we think. Everybody's busy, and I mean, this kind of a bid, $221,000, says, I don't really want it, but if you want to pay me that, I'll figure out somehow how to do it. We're going to do a paving job down at the school at not Shaker Lane, but
Russell Street?
pardon?
Russell Street?
No, Russell Street. Down at I'm pulling a blank on it.
Middle school?
Pardon?
Middle school?
No.
High school.
How about Shaker Lane?
Oh, Shaker Lane.
See, the minute you started saying it, came back. And we were already running with some estimates that are higher than what we had anticipated. So we're trying to determine what we're going to do there, whether we're going to do both payments now, or one now and one later. So, as I say, I hate to bring you the bad news, but we've got so many projects going in. We're just fighting what's out there right now, and what's out there right now is everybody's busy. And what we're going to do on some of these projects is we're going to wait till September, October timeframe, when the projects will start to be over. And we may be able to pick up somebody that will do this. Otherwise, we're going to have to go back and get some more money. Okay? And one of the things we're running into, so you're aware of it, in order to meet the law, and that's the Board of Health law and the fire law, we have to put an Ansel system in. That's one of those big, I think I explained it to you last time, over the stove. And we can't go through the wall because no matter what wall we go through, we're going to be causing a problem on the outside. So we have to go through the ceiling, which means we're going to go through, she's shaking her head, we have to go through the studio. But it's not, they're not going to see it because it's going to be in back of one of the walls.
I would love to see the plan for that. I mean, you're saying going through the studio, but I'd like to know more about, like, where are you talking about in the studio? And
Well, we'll show you where it is once we get somebody that would bid it, okay?
But you must know, don't you know yet? Because
Well, we know where it's going to go, but the problem is it may change. We may do a deviation, all right? That's one thing. The other thing is the new law requires not only to exhaust it, we have to bring fresh air in. That's the new requirement, which means we have to have a double one. But the way they design it is they can get the fresh air on one side and the air going out on the other side. So I told you we'd keep you posted.
I hope.
So I don't want to go any more details. We're very disappointed. We had a problem getting the second bid out because of the dates. We got them out. We got them out as soon as we can, and they came in last Thursday, and we're disappointed. We also, so you know, aware of it, we also received bids on Friday for the fuel station down at the Light and Water with the trucks, town trucks, gas up. And
Is it possible to go back into the old kitchen until we're ready? Can't do that either?
Minuteman will
Minuteman
not
won't,
allow
no.
Gail to go back into the kitchen until the
Okay.
code violations are corrected.
Yeah. The code violations, we could bypass them by asking for an extension. But Minuteman is saying, no, they don't want that.
Okay.
Because those are local that we could get an exception for 6 months or something. And say-
We're well beyond the 6 months.
I know.
We've had several extensions.
So I didn't feel like coming today. We were very, very disappointed once the bids came in. And the problem was, we had 4 companies indicated they would bid. And when the bids came in, we only got 1. The other 3 didn't bid.
How long can we stay at the other place?
Right now, Lisa Larrabee has been very generous with us. She has made no noises about getting us out. But it is very clear that that's a temporary arrangement, and we are foregoing a lot of activities that would normally happen in our
Right.
kitchen by being down there. We are able to keep Meals on Wheels going, so that's 30 people in town that are getting their daily Meals on Wheels. We are able to keep the congregate lunch program going in an abbreviated fashion. And, you know, some days she has 15 to 20 people in there for that, on days when we're having the social club. But that's just a temporary arrangement. And I know people have mentioned before about going to the churches. We've already talked to the churches, and none of the churches will agree to let us come, with the exception of the Baptist Church, because of the problem with funerals. They don't want to commit their kitchen for 5 days a week, because it will interfere with their activities.
Is the price so high because of this vent? I mean, because we're talking a stove, we're talking a dishwasher that's being bought by somebody else.
No,
It's not the vent?
no, it's the environment right now in construction. People.
You mean the prices are going up, and they'll be going up
More.
the longer we wait?
They'll go up until the summer and fall are over. And then you've got people who are looking for work.
When I read the legal notices about when the bid went out, it said $120,000. And you said earlier that the architect said 140 to 145.
No, he made a mistake. That included his fee and what we call it, 20% contingency. That's why we had to change to where it's supposed to be. But even then, $221,000 tells you they didn't want the visit. And if they got it, I don't know when they'd finish it.
Can we put
Just for the
can we
minutes.
put the bid back out, and maybe those three were just too busy to respond, maybe one would? Is there a
We
quick
can
turnaround?
we can rebid it, and what we'll do is, we'll get the three, we'll ask the architect to get a hold of the three that called in and ask them if they would please consider bidding. Okay? The unfortunate part about it is, everything has to be bid, and it all has to be by the law, the state law. I don't know if you're aware, when you bid something on a state bid, and all towns run through the same thing, you have to meet certain requirements, and they're listed what they have to meet. The big killer is prevailing wage. The state tells you what wage they have to bid. I'll give you an example. A union carpenter gets $48 an hour. A regular carpenter gets $28 to $30 an hour. So you figure everything they do, if it has to be prevailing wage, okay, you just figure that in. I mean, we've been through this, I've been through this for 10 years now with the state.
I'd like to put a proposal on the table. I'd like all of you to hear what I think. This is my opinion as the director of the direction that we should go. I'm getting a very clear signal from Joe, from Roland, from various people, that this is not a good atmosphere in which to bid something of this size. We've tried to bid it twice. Both times we've come back with bids that are way high. And I think you're right that 221,000 says I don't really want to do the job, but if you're willing to pay me that much money, perhaps I'll consider it. I do not support the idea of going to ask for more money. I do not think this is a $225,000 job. So I am absolutely opposed to asking for more money from the town.
At least that amount.
Any amount. I think we have adequate money to do this job. What I would like to suggest is that since we've been so unsuccessful twice with trying to bid this, that we stop and think and find another way to do this project. Now, our big difficulty is Minuteman. Minuteman will not let Gail back into the kitchen until we correct the code violations. And that means that we have to have the 3-well sink. She must have a hand wash sink, and she has to have a functional stove. Stove means that we also have to have the Ansel system. Those 3 items are the big items that we have to have. Everything else we can take a pass on. We don't need to work on the lighting. We don't need to work on the cabinetry. If the cabinetry gets botched because of having to cut it to put the stove in, so be it. We can live with something like that. Fire department insists on the Ansel system. I would like to suggest that we rethink this project, break it into phases, do a first phase that takes care of these code things so that Minuteman will not pull Gail from us, will not send our Meals on Wheels to Acton, which is what they're threatening to do if we don't get our kitchen project going. It will not be acceptable to them for us to say, oh, well, we'll wait till spring. That will not fly at all.
Good.
But if we could cut it back and we could get an initial bid that was under 35,000, then we can avoid the whole problem that Joe's been talking about with prevailing wage and all of that. If it's under 35,000 as the director, I can solicit bids from 3 contractors and I can get the work done. Then we could talk about a second phase, another under 35,000 to do the next pieces that we want done, etc. I really would like to find a different way to do this because I do not think rebidding it is going to get us anything more. Everyone's saying the same thing. They're all busy. Anybody who wants to take this size project really wants to take a much bigger project if they've got the manpower to do it. So that's what I'd like to put on the table as a proposal, and I'd like to ask you, Joe, if I can come to your meeting next Wednesday to discuss that with your,
Yeah, it's a
your group.
week from Wednesday.
Right, a week from Wednesday.
Yeah, no problem.
And
Does that sound feasible to you, Joe, that we can get away with that? That's not the way to put it.
No,
You
we
gotta,
can develop it into a phased-in
Yeah.
change,
gotta
that's
look
all.
at the cost of the equipment you're putting in. You're putting in the sink, 3-bag sink, you're putting in hand wash sink. You gotta put stainless steel cover in. You can't use your wooden one you have.
Right.
Okay? The Ansel system is another thing in your stove. And the dishwasher
dishwasher's a freebie.
is a
Minuteman's
freebie.
gonna pay for that.
So, you gotta look at that, and I can get the estimates for those if you want.
Where's your 35,000 coming from? The state says if it's under 35,000, you don't
The
need it.
town has given us
Yeah.
$140,000 to
Right.
do the kitchen.
No, where'd you get the 35 from?
35,000.
That's the
Threshold.
cap.
The Board of Selectmen just passed that any director in any department up to 35,000 can sign off themselves on the bids. It does not have
Okay.
to go through the bid process.
But-
I still have to have 3.
But you still have to have the state requirements?
No,
No, not
No.
if she
Oh,
goes,
okay.
not, because she's not
So we
gonna.
could go with
Right.
regular
Yeah.
carpenters.
Yeah.
Right,
And-
non-union
Publish.
people that we know.
we could approach local people who would be, I'm sure, very
Excellent
inclined to
idea.
want to help us.
Excellent, excellent.
We agree. That
Yeah.
is a good idea.
Why don't
That
you
makes a lot of sense.
come next week, and we can look at the possibility, and I'll check it, of us buying the equipment. And then when we go out, the bid,
It'll be even smaller.
yeah,
I think the long pole in the tent is the stove and the Ansel.
yep,
And I'd be happy to pay a contractor to buy that stove with whatever his markup is and do the installation on that so that they are completely responsible for it. And then perhaps we should think of the whole plumbing situation as a separate contract. The good news is, we're not moving the plumbing, we're not moving it to the other side of the room or anything like that. It's basically a
It's
switch
just-
out.
That's, right. It's a switch out, but you have to have a grease trap, which is, we're putting in, we're not going in on the floor, we're gonna
Let-
put one in under the sink.
Yeah, let's go with
That's
something.
detail. Look, you gotta work out
Because right
what
now,
it's gonna
Board of
take.
Health says that they don't
Figure
know
out
about the
whether we
grease
can do it.
trap. Roland says he doesn't know about the grease trap. I don't wanna get hung up on that, but yes, I think there's a way that we can make this fly and be in the kitchen before next spring.
Okay,
I think,
You need it.
And you all
don't
have BU to thank for this, where I teach project management on a regular basis.
need- Do you need anything from us in terms of official? Yeah, I didn't think
Want me
so.
to walk you?
Well, I'd like your support,
Do you want me to walk you over?
and,
I move that we support Pam's proposal and that she be encouraged to go with Joe and work it out.
did you hear the motion that was just made, ladies?
Mary Leven?
Are you all right? You okay?
No, I hate to break up a meeting, but I am leaving. I have a headache, and I think the best place for me to go is to go home.
Okay.
Sorry about
Any hand,
that.
Mary?
I tried. Troublemaking Mary, she
Thank you.
tried.
That's okay. Better part than none. Watch out for the cord.
No, it's okay. It's
You
fine.
need someone to take you home, Mary?
I'm okay. I'm fine.
Patty?
Patty, is your bag or just
That's
Mary's?
mine.
Oh, okay.
I can do it. Thank you.
all
Bye-bye.
right, I'll let you know, I'll put you.
Well,
Wait, we have a motion.
let's get the.
We
the
have a
vote
motion on the
So that you'll know
table.
that we voted it.
Are you seconding his motion? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have one question for Pamela, and that's, so the balance, let's say we succeed at that plan, phased approach, phase one, critical items, 35,000 or less, good solution. That leaves 105,000 within the initial appropriation. For how long do we have to use those funds, and if not, what happens to them?
It can stay there. We can ask them
It's
to.
capital.
We can ask them to hold it aside. It can roll over to next year if need be, based on the fact that we're having so much trouble. In fact, we still got money left over from the track, that we're doing some work, additional work on the track.
Good question, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Any other discussion on Pam's proposal?
Thanks, Pam.
Okay, it is moved and seconded to encourage Pamela and Joe to look into the phasing of the project with each phase under 35,000.
Sounds
General
good.
enough.
Good. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Abstentions? None.
Thank you very much for your
Thank-
support.
thank you.
And I'll see you next Wednesday.
That's a great idea.
Thank you,
I
Joe.
think. Where there's a will, there's a way. I firmly believe that, and there is a way we can get this done. There is. We just have to be creative and keep at it.
Yeah.
That's what OTs are good at.
That's right. All right. So that was not such great news, but I'm feeling very good, because I think we've come up with a great way to approach it now. And hopefully we don't have any more roadblocks. All right, update on needs assessment. And Dr.
Needs
Mutchler,
assessment.
yes,
Yes, well.
that's coming excitingly close.
It is coming excitingly close. Dr. Mutchler has been in to see us, and there is a report attached to the director's report that, with the blue, that is a summary from her of some of the initial findings. We had a meeting with her. She was able to share with us sort of a rough cut. We're working now on getting a draft of the final report. We're also in the midst of arranging for her to do the final report out to the Board of Selectmen, which will be in September. And then at the end of September, on the 29th, we're going to have a public meeting. Because you'll recall when we had the public meeting in January, we said we would close the loop with everyone by having a public meeting where people can come and ask questions. The meeting at the Board of Selectmen will not be that kind of meeting. It will be a report out of the contractor to the Board of Selectmen, and will not be a public meeting for discussion. She's very interested in what she's seen. She says that she thinks that Littleton in many ways is quite unique, and certainly what we've seen of the data so far kind of feeds right into that. And so then we began the next phase of thinking about what this means and what kind of recommendations we want to make to the Board of Selectmen to implement measures to meet some of the needs that are uncovered. One of the, I guess, on the one hand surprising but not surprising was the number of people that said that they are doing caregiving for an adult in the home. And of those who responded, almost 50% said that within the last 5 years they've had to do caregiving for an adult. If you think about the number of people in town, that's a big number, maybe 700 or 800 people in town if you extrapolate that out. We have seen only the tip of the iceberg. We see those who self-identify and come to us and ask for help, but obviously there are lots of others out there who are taking care of people. So that's a huge need, and I want to come to you at some point with some ideas about outreach and how we can get out there and touch people. I'm very encouraged by the numbers, particularly the numbers between 50 and 60 who did respond. Certainly there are people out there who are thinking. I'm not so sure they're thinking of us as a resource for them, and again, I think we need to reach out and make sure that people see us as an entry point for getting information about programs, for getting referrals to programs, for getting assistance with filling out applications and all that. So exciting times, very exciting times.
What was the date of that public meeting again, Pam?
29th,
September 29th?
September 29th.
Thank you.
At what time?
It's in the morning, 10:30. It's a Tuesday. And it'll be down in room 103.
That information again.
September 29th.
Yep.
This will be in the minutes, obviously, of the meeting at 10:30.
Thank you.
It's really, I find this extremely exciting. So, even though it might be a challenge, because it's going to give us some new things to think about, I think, and be creative about. So, thank you. Any other discussion about the needs assessment? No? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Paula Abella is on the agenda, but it has been postponed until September. it's more convenient for him to be here then. And it helped us because we felt we had a very big agenda anyway, and so it worked out well.
And we had to shoehorn in Joe.
And you're right, and we really wanted to get Joe in here to hear about the kitchen. So we're moving that to September. And that brings
Excuse me,
us,
before we go on, just want to make sure I got this. An update on the needs project, see the attached reports. At the end of September, 10:30 a.m., a public meeting will be held for people to respond to a report. The subcommittee will review the report and recommend to the board things to be addressed by the selectmen, then the recommendations can be given to the selectmen. Okay. Thank you.
okay.
And I will have that draft report out to you just as soon as I receive it.
Are we all set on that?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to skip down to B, under new business, the membership subcommittee. Recommendation, they have two recommendations on our agenda. Now I turn the meeting over to Barbara and Jean, who will speak to their recommendations.
Pardon me? I was reading something.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're on. Either one of you.
Well, the recommendation for the membership and vote to accept job descriptions, is that the one we're on, C?
No.
You know what?
We're on B.
B.
B. Okay, the board members, we voted on that, and that's,
We haven't voted on the request, where the vote is to request, you're recommending is written here, to request that the Board of Selectmen
change the size,
Yeah.
it's request, oh, okay.
Change the
I
size
thought
of
we
the
had
COA
voted on
board.
it.
No,
Okay,
we
we
haven't.
talked about it, we
Yeah.
discussed it. Okay, so we do have to vote, and we just thought that this was a good time to do it, now that we're down to 7, down to 9 instead of 11. We talked about it, and everybody seemed to agree, and
It is,
Today
it's a perfect timing in a way, if you can, I guess, describe it that way, perhaps, but I think there are so few boards in the state that
this size.
have 11 members.
Yeah.
The state, Emmett, recommends 7 to 9 board members, as far as being productive and getting things accomplished. I think that was his main gist of things.
Right.
And the other thing is, too, we have 2 vacancies, and it doesn't involve people stepping down off the board in order to reduce the size. So this is a time, perhaps, to think about, do we really want to fill those vacancies, or is it more desirable to reduce the size of the board? 11 is a large
I think
number
we're the
of
largest
people.
one in town.
There's only 4 in the state, I think, boards that
But I'm
have
saying
11
in
members,
this
something
town,
like that.
yeah.
Most of them are 9.
Yeah.
That is the one in the number that seems to be predominant. So anyway,
Oh. We need to
we
take a
need
vote
to
on
make a
that.
decision about that, because if not, then we have to get the positions, the vacancies posted, et cetera, et cetera. So,
And then we
Go
had to take the recommendation to the selectmen.
yes, if we were to vote to do this, it has to go to the selectmen, and it is their final decision as to whether the board size is reduced. So, they won't even discuss it without having input from the COA itself. So that's necessary to occur.
Well, I just have one comment on that. Having been the newest member on the board and been on the board less than 8 months, 9 months, whatever it is, and being on 3 subcommittees now, losing 2 positions and not having a lot of people on the board stepping up to be on other subcommittees, I just have a concern losing 2 members and other people not stepping up. That's a big issue to me. Maybe losing 1 might be okay. I'm just expressing my opinion. Some people are on 1, but they don't want to be on any more. And I've been on 3 in less than 9 months. That's a lot of work.
Go ahead, Chris.
Do we have to fill those subcommittee seats with members, or can we have volunteers augment the work?
Well, that's actually, that will be talked about under the next item on job descriptions, actually, because there is a job description in there for a subcommittee chair, which,
Because there's
But-
certainly work to do.
but there is work to do. But my point I'd like to make about subcommittees is that a subcommittee is not something that is everlasting. A subcommittee should be put together to get a specific task accomplished, and then the subcommittee is disbanded. Like the membership subcommittee, you know, and there's not a lot more. I'm on that committee. I have been since it started. And there's not a lot more that probably membership needs to be doing actively, and so therefore that frees up 3 people to become involved in something else. At such time that something comes up about membership, you know, maybe the membership subcommittee would be redeveloped, you know. The same goes for the subcommittee, you know, about getting out and making the signage changes and things. I don't know how actively I think you're waiting now for a few other things to occur before you do much. So, from one point of view, I've only been on the Council on Aging for 3 years. This is the beginning of my 4th. And since the change has been made from the COA being a supervisory group to a group that makes recommendations, I think the amount of work has changed also. But I'm not 100% because I wasn't on the board prior to, you know, that change. The change occurred right soon after I joined the group. So, but it only makes sense to me that the amount of work has reduced to some degree. Yes, there's lots to be doing, but we're making recommendations, and therefore you have to gather data sometimes to make good recommendations. I understand that. But personally, I don't see that being as demanding. So I just put that out there. So, other thoughts about it?
Well, I said exactly the same thing that Patty did, that I have a deep concern at 9 people being able to handle a load. And I'd like to know when I got off of some of these subcommittees. They don't seem to be too short-term to me.
Well, your needs assessment subcommittee, I'm not sure where your thinking is on that, for example, you know, as to what will happen after the needs assessment is done. Then you have all the recommendations, and don't know that the needs assessment subcommittee would be certain tasks that would come about, I would think. I don't know how you people perceive that. But obviously, you're gonna have a subcommittee to be working on some of these other things, maybe the caretaker issue, you know. So, but that doesn't mean maybe that the core positions, it stays, I don't know. Nancy has her hand up over there, so I'd like to recognize her.
Just as an observer, when you have 11 people on your board and you're asking for people to be on the subcommittee, not all of you volunteered. So I think you're going to have the same number of people who volunteer as you did before with 9 and not 11, because when you have 11, quite a few, not quite a few, but a few did not volunteer to be on subcommittee, so I can't see the difference.
But this is not a volunteer situation. The new rules of the board say that a member must serve on subcommittees. We have some people who refuse to do it, but they are now no longer with us. And so board members are expected to serve on some subcommittee, and I think everybody does.
I think you're right. Everybody here is serving and has been actively involved, but we've accomplished a lot, so I don't know that 2 more. We've always had 2, pardon me?
Nancy said, it's not gonna make a difference because you got the people that don't, you know, volunteer to be on a committee anyway, whether there's 9 or 11 or whatever. So going back to 9, and like Marge said, if the subcommittees eventually end at some point, and then another one comes up, so 9 is just as good, you know, well, it's even better, I think, to have 9 on the board.
The other comment that I had was One of the things we've always tried to do is get people with some expertise on the board in different areas, and this will cut down the number of people we can get with different types of expertise. When many of you came on the board, it makes a difference to have those kind of people, and we've been looking for. Barry was one who we brought on because of his legal abilities when he was on the board. Chris certainly has a great knowledge of government, so and we've looked for those as we've looked for new people. And, we can still do that with 9, but if we continue with the 11, it would be a possibility. I'm ambivalent either way, but, and I would certainly, agree with the majority of the board, but I do think those are concerns that we need to.
Well, I come onto the board knowing nothing. And
You
I think
never
I've
come on the
learned-
board knowing
Huh?
nothing. We all have something to give.
no, I don't. No, I come in knowing nothing. And I've learned a lot since being on the board. So it's not something that you should say, well, you have to have some qualifications to be on this board. Because you do learn as you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm
So
not saying
you-
that, I'm just saying that at times we have, looked for a person who might have something that could be enhancing for the board because of their
Right.
background or whatever, so.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is, as Nancy suggests, it's people that are contributing, whether it's 9 or it's 11. You need doers. You need people to do the work. There's work to be done, more work than we can do. And 9 or 11, it's a different conversation than finding people willing to work.
Well, it is hard to find people, I think, too, that have an interest in this. I will be candid about that. I don't hear, usually, from my 3 years' experience, there aren't people clamoring at the door. And the other thing that I think about personally is that I know Emmett strongly advocates that boards should be changing and new ideas. You're right. Different ideas and different people should have opportunities. And that's why he strongly advocates that board members should only serve 2 terms, 6 years, and step down for a year.
You're gonna put that
And
in?
allow, no, I'm not talking about that. This is not, has nothing.
No, you're not
but
going anywhere.
It has to do with the concept of the board
Sure.
and the structure and getting new blood involved.
Yeah.
And so as you do that, you're always going to have, changes and other ideas coming along too.
Right.
So I think we don't have that that requirement in place, but that is something that is strongly advocated by the state. So and to me, it makes sense. I fully plan after 3,
She's
my
not
3
gonna
more
let that
years.
subcommittee go.
I fully plan to step down, at least for a year. And then if there's a vacancy after that and I'm still, fine and well and I can help, I'd come back. I'd ask to come back and apply.
Marge, I'm doing the math real quick, and if I'm not mistaken, that would be a presidential election year.
Oh.
That's what's going on here.
But anyway, yes, Barbara.
Well, I was just going to say, just offhand, that all that is well and good, recommending that you change the board. All we know, and you probably know, how hard it is to get new people to join a board, and that's why so many stay on so long. Mainly because they're getting some things done, and other reasons, you're trying to find someone to replace that person too.
And that is
But-
true. It's hard
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
new people involved.
Very honestly, that's why I'm still here, because I did not want to leave the board in the lurch. And that's a reality.
So it's easier maybe to fill a board with 9 when you have 9 slots than it is when you have 11. That's another thing.
I think we should figure out a way to be actively recruiting. I mean, the public can come and sit and participate in every single meeting we have. Subject matter expertise out there. If someone is just afraid of the multi-year term commitment but has some expertise on a subject, on a topic, we welcome that. That can always be. I know I came to a couple meetings before I was a member and just kind of listened and participated from the audience. And so I think it's different conversations. It's people to be involved, to be following what we do and willing to put an oar in the water and help us do the work, versus the governance of the board, 9 seats, easier to manage, easier to administer. I mean, there's expense to this, there's board packets, there's printing, there's the quorum, there's managing that. We can probably manage 9, but that does not, 9 or 11 doesn't solve the challenge of finding ways to recruit active participation, which we need to do, and we need to do a better job of. So I think that's what we're caught. We're having 2 different conversations.
Well, and I think you're right, but I also would just throw out, too, that visibility, what we're doing, the things that we have accomplished and that we are getting out there, that helps speak to
Sure.
the board and gets, people more interested in many ways.
Yeah, but that's an argument to keep it at 11 for, more begets more activity, more exposure.
If you have, yes, if you have
Multiplying that.
the right people.
Yeah.
Marge?
Yes.
Could I make a comment just about size of boards?
Yeah.
Everyone, with the exception of Louise, saw the discussion about the size of the boards in the towns that we're going to be compared to in the needs assessment, and we were by far the biggest board of any of those towns. It occurs to me that when you have 11 people and you have a subject that needs to be discussed, first of all, it makes the meetings long, and we've all seen that experience. But second, I think it makes it easier for someone to retreat because there's 10 other people that are battling it out about whatever. I think as we get down to 9, or Emmett really even recommends 7, which a lot of towns have, that it becomes more obvious if someone is pulling back. And Bob pointed out that we had some people on the board previously who flat out said, I'm not going to be on subcommittees, I'm not going to do any more work, I've done my work. That's not the kind of attitude that you want. You want people who are involved, who are engaged, and who will talk. I think just from the group process and being able to get the work done, that 9 is a more doable number than 11. And, I should point out that Louise is going to be leaving very shortly. She has her house up for sale. So it's not like we won't have openings in which we can solicit new people to be involved. And, Mary may decide that this is too difficult for her. Would you give us another opening?
Just something I thought of. People maybe don't understand too. This is the board of the Council on Aging. It does not mean that you have to be 105 to be on the board. It means that you can be young and be on the board and have a lot to offer and say. And I know my son was impressed when he learned that Chris was on the board, because he said, you're dealing with the elderly and you're a young guy. And we said he had a lot to offer. So people should understand that too, that if they're thinking about this board, and they're saying, well, I'm too young. No, you have ideas and everything. But I think, and watching over the years, I think 9 is a good number, because it's easier too to get 9 people together to make a vote or whatever. 11, you're going to have a couple just can't be there, so, but it's
And
just
the
a thought.
the last time we discussed this, there was a spirited discussion about getting new blood, and how if we cut back from 11 to 9, that it wouldn't give us the opportunity to get new blood. We have 4 new members now. We have a lot of new blood on the board. 4, that's a lot. Percentage-wise, that's a big part of the board. And as I said, we're going to have a 5th one very soon. I think that argument, it's valid that we do want to think about getting new ideas and what have you, but we have gotten new ideas. And we're a different board than we were a year ago.
That's, for me, the moving thing for my vote, and that is that we are a different board than we were, not just in people, but in requirements. We are now truly an advisory board, not having to get into the everyday determination and carrying out of the COA program, and that makes a huge difference.
It does. And we have the ability to set priorities for our tasks and the things that we're going to be taking on as far as what we're working on. We might be working on 2 or 3 different tasks through the subcommittees and to get them done. Doesn't mean we have to have 10 things going at a time too. That sometimes is not productive. It's best to focus your efforts and energy. So All right. Other comments? All right.
You want me to tell what Keith said?
Sure.
So when I discussed this with Keith, that the membership committee had come up with this idea to go from 11 to 9, Keith shared with me that procedurally, the Board of Selectmen would want this to come before them as a unanimous vote. If there were a split in the board, that they would not take it up for consideration. And remember, what we're doing here is we would be asking the Board of Selectmen to reduce the size of the board, and they would either put that forward to town meeting or not, depending on whether they feel like it has the support of the entire COA board. So I just wanted to put that out there before you voted on this. They would want you to be seen as a united front in making that decision, which doesn't mean that you can't entertain reservations and have a
Yeah.
differing opinion and still choose to vote as a board.
I think the board will vote how the board votes, and notwithstanding the town administrator's opinion, that's not a requirement to bring something to the selectmen.
I'm sorry, I
To
don't
have-
understand, Chris.
It's not a requirement that any board vote 100% one way or another.
I didn't say it was a requirement.
I know it's not a requirement,
No,
but
that's not what I said.
Yeah, I don't agree that they should say that, but they've said it, so.
that's the thumb on the scale. But I think we should go ahead and vote, because I have a sense we all agree anyways.
All right. Does someone want to put the vote out, please?
Okay, you got a motion on the floor provided by the subcommittee. Take your vote.
I'll second it.
You're seconding? All
Don't
those-
don't need to, because it was a subcommittee recommendation.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. I forgot that. I'll never get all these little things straight. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I can't see.
It was unanimous.
All right, it is a unanimous
Board
vote.
voted affirmatively and unanimously to reduce the number of members of the board, COA, to 9 members.
I'll convey that to Keith, and he'll convey it to the Board of Selectmen, and as I mentioned, then the Board of Selectmen indeed choose to take it up, it would have to come to town meeting for discussion and vote to
Really?
make the change.
That's hysterical.
I know.
And it probably has to do with the way the board was created back in the 70s.
So you're not including a term limit in this?
No, we didn't get to
All right,
that
let's
thing
make it
yet.
more complicated.
I move to request the Board of Selectmen change the size of the COA board from 11 to 9 members.
Right.
Have a second?
We already voted on it.
No, that's.
This is for
the
clarity
Board of
for the minutes.
Selectmen to change the size. They only voted for us to agree that
That's, the vote was written as down
1
here.
and 2. We're doing 2 now.
I don't see that. I
2?
guess. What are you talking about?
5B?
5B. The vote is requesting the Board of Selectmen change the size of the COA board from 11 members to 9 members. That's it.
Right, but it's 2 things, vote the board size and vote the request of the selectmen. So I'm
Correct.
taking them as 2 separate votes.
No, no,
No, the
No.
Board of Selectmen sets the size. We don't set the size.
no. And that's nothing. It was that the membership subcommittee, it was, the recommendation is vote on board size. That shouldn't probably, that's confusing you. It probably shouldn't have been there. It was, in the vote is, I don't think we need both, do we?
No, not if you're gonna do it that way.
All right. Everybody okay with that? All right, you have a, membership subcommittee has a second, under C, a second recommendation.
Let's see, that we go to accept the job descriptions for the COA board chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary, and subcommittee chairperson. We went over all of the job descriptions that we had presented before and found a few things that should be included. One of the most important one was that each board chair, each subcommittee board chair should adhere to the open meeting law. And that was not in the original ones. We plan to, if this is all accepted, make all new ones for the next meeting and have them ready for you to go into your new book, into your membership book.
Actually, the membership book only has a job description for a board member.
For a board member.
We're a board member.
Yeah, and we'll have these
were
additional.
developed because the rules and regulations briefly address the duties of the chair, you know, the vice chair, but it really doesn't tell you the nuts and bolts. And if you are new at doing something like when I took over as chair, I have had no clue. It would have been nice to have a little bit of a written guideline to help me know, you know, some of the things that are not, yes, I know when you're a chair, you're a chair, you're kind of, it's your job to run the meetings, but there are so many little nuances and little things like, you know, what you need to be doing and how you need to be encouraging the board in their role and things of that nature. So if you glance at these, you'll find we copied, or not copied, but kind of got some of our ideas from other boards' job descriptions, you know, for chairs. The same thing with the vice chair. Well, the vice chair has responsibilities, and yes, it's fine, the vice chair is going to take over if the chair can't be present, but there are other things that go on too.
Are these substantially different from what's in what you gave us before?
There were none. This is the first that's ever existed of a job description for any
There
of
were
these.
job descriptions
In the rules and regs.
Yeah.
And we did not repeat anything that is in the rules and regs, because it's already in the rules and regs. The only thing,
Okay, these are brand new then.
they're brand
I have a
new.
problem with being handed something at 2:35 and being expected to vote it without ever having a chance to really read it and look at it and see what
Okay.
it says. I mean, that's my problem.
And
I don't have any.
that's
I'm not
understandable.
against
I
it.
have trouble with that too, so personally. Would you like to recommend or to ask that it be, we carry this over, give you time this next month to read, and we carry this over to the next meeting?
Yes, please.
I would
like
like
that?
that.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I would ask you, as you're reading them, to just double-check the rules and regs, and you'll see that there's very little in there that really helps a new person understand what the duties are, that they should be following, you know, gives you guidelines, that's all. So, I'm fine with that also, putting it off, I think, in waiting until next month.
Right.
Everybody else okay with that?
All right.
So we will put that, keep that and move it forward to carry over. That brings us to D, which is a report from Chris on the Linfield
Yeah.
COA visit.
And
And-
Chris, because this newsletter was so lengthy, I only made like 5 copies.
Oh, okay. Well, that works out. Well, someone has to share.
We're
People
good
can
sharers,
share.
we're good sharers now in this group.
People could share on that, and then.
See, it's
did you
easier to
say
share
you
now.
brought the thumb drive?
I didn't. I have it on my. Can I
This
just hook
is,
up?
this is hooked up
Thank you.
and ready to go if you wanted to show pictures. I don't know if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'll come over. Let's see if we can make this work. You never know. Let's see.
Oh,
Still learning how to use this Mac.
Well, this is already hooked up. If you
Yeah.
want to
Oh.
just stick the
Can you
thumb
do
drive
this?
in there.
Cam, got it all ready for you. And we have a few other agenda items, so we need to think about that. Time, yes, it's already 23. Well, yeah, 20 over. You want a chair? I can
No,
slide
that's
this
okay.
over. You
This
sure?
won't take long.
Okay.
I think it might be on this side, Chris. Oh, no, there it is.
Just keep looking. Sure, this is the right one. All right, so, bounce around here a little bit.
Is that your kitchen?
Yeah. Okay, so this is Linfield's Senior Center. Town of Linfield. Everyone's probably familiar where that is, you know, next to kind of between Saugus and Wakefield. This is a Tuesday in June. I think it was the first Tuesday. It was 9 a.m. Just to put it in perspective. I popped in because I have colleagues who are in the town who had a death in the family, and I was trying to understand what kind of bereavement programs they may have, which they had a couple wonderful choices. But while I was there, I asked if I could have a tour and if I could walk around, and they were more than happy to do that. And in talking to people who are using this facility, I left with a broader understanding of what a facility like this and capability means. There were seniors, there were caregivers of seniors who may have been dropping off a senior or checking in on a program. There was the staff. There was a ton of activity. And the asset to the community that this capability represented, I needed to see that, actually, and it wasn't why I was there, but I left with that clear sense. And you'll see as I go through some of the photos, you can see it. I mean, this is 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. Imagine the impact that this senior center has on the community. So this is the lobby. There are a number of people. It's busy. There's the admin staff. There's people just getting information. They weren't posing for me. I can see it's even blurry because I'm walking through just with my phone taking photos.
This is a freestanding center?
Freestanding center. It was a school that was renovated, an elementary school that was
And they only believe there's 9 states in the union.
apparently. and I did. I mean, you take what you
It's a
get.
very
right?
early flag, very early.
Yeah.
They appreciate history.
This is a meeting room. They were preparing for an event that was coming, again, Tuesday at 9 a.m.
10
This is-
past.
10 past, is that what it is?
that's what the clock said.
This is another meeting that was occurring in a general multi-purpose room that they have, and that they have for their use in other. This is a different meeting room that they have. You see a whiteboard, an easel, and different materials.
Looks like a classroom.
Like
And
a-
one,
looks
it
like a
probably was one of the
classroom.
classrooms in the school.
Yeah.
A salon where they have
Oh,
the
that's
ability,
nice.
and there was somebody there at
That
9
is nice.
o'clock on a Tuesday.
Just out of curiosity, do you know if they maintained it, or does someone from the town run it, or? does it
Or if
just
it's
belong-
volunteers, I don't. That's a great follow-up question. So this is, I don't know what you call this, the auditorium, or where you'll see in a moment in the distance. This is 9 a.m. They're setting up. They have a lunch event that Tuesday, and there's a band setting up, and there are people getting ready for it. And so you'll see. This is from a different angle. There's the band. The band's starting to practice and get ready. And there are people coming in. I mean, it's getting busier. When I left, it was a lot busier than when I walked in, as people just getting ready. I mean, for this, there's the
Wow.
kitchen, and they're preparing and they're getting ready for food. There's a couple of different angles of this.
Do they have a sink to wash your hands?
Bet
They do. There's someone using a sink.
There's a double sink and a single
First they have
sink and a triple
They have a
sink.
And they have the space.
And the Meals on Wheels, and they have the space. And they have the space.
Is this building a separate building? Totally.
It is. It was a school building. Part of it's still used for nursery school, and half of it was converted for the senior center. So, and then going through the materials, another thing. So it was interesting just to see. So I just started asking them what's happening, and these materials that Pamela has to pass out were just similar to materials that we're passing out. What's happening here this week? What's happening this month? Here's an event schedule that's we included from them. The trips.
Yeah.
That was very interesting. So I asked.
That's
I
a
know-
whole year's worth of trips.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is an idea of one trip. The way they were advertising it, a trip to West Concord and Concord. Right. It's a lot easier trip from here. Their trips are well subscribed, which is interesting. I thought you'd say, yeah, we have these
How
wonderful
big a
trips, and we
community is
struggle to get
Linfield
people.
in comparison to Littleton?
Linfield's smaller. I mean, Linfield's about the same size.
Really?
I mean, I think it's smaller in
I always think of it
miles.
as being bigger. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
That's
The
interesting.
staff, I have.
Enfield has about 11,000 people,
Yep.
and 17% are over 65. We have almost 9,000, and 20% are over 65.
Wow, that's interesting, huh? We have less people and more seniors.
Well, that's the trend in Littleton, we're moving that direction.
Yeah. But it's also similar, it makes me think, well, here we are, Shattuck Street, we have
Also a
town
fairly
offices
affluent
converted, and
community.
then we need more space.
Their median
No, it's-
income,
it's
their
breaking-
median income is twice the median income for Littleton.
Right.
What's breaking my heart here watching this is the fact that we survive with this much space,
Yes.
and now we don't have a kitchen.
I know.
So we're even that less space, where, you know, it's hard convincing people that a senior center is a great thing to have in your town.
Well,
What's their budget?
You're if you're my age and you're thinking about taking care of a parent or thinking about the long-term needs of a parent, and you're looking for a home, and you understand this capability is down the street,
Yeah.
that matters.
And how much does the town give to the senior center every year?
Well, I knew there were going to be some follow-up questions, so I brought contact information for the staff, which is here. I'll probably have this.
I know they
in
have-
terms of the size staff. I mean, they have,
They have a
you know,
lot more staff
They're
than we have.
five full-time
Yeah.
people. It looks like
We
plus
have 2
volunteers.
full-time people, they have 5 full-time people.
Yeah. So.
And
That's
guess
a
what
big
size their
difference.
board is? Anybody want to guess what size their board is?
7.
Yep.
7.
So I'll leave all of this. These are hard copies of.
But you don't know what their budget
the
is?
materials. I don't know.
for
She was,
the year?
you know, since I wasn't there for this
Hmm.
purpose, but
They are
Deborah was
affluent.
certainly happy to have us follow up and ask questions. And but anyways, I thought it was there, so I said, I'm here. I'm going to take some pictures and bring it back to the board.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it is. interesting.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Chris.
Sure.
I should point out that one of the things that's going to be part of the needs assessment is a comparison of us to 6 other towns. And it will be comparing things like demographics and what do they have in terms of their senior center and how much square space do they have and things like that.
Be interesting.
And all the towns were selected on the basis of being demographically similar to us in terms of income. Beg your pardon?
What's hard is they don't care.
Who's they?
They, anybody. They
Well,
that,
it gives us some ammunition.
care.
It
I
gives us
care.
some ammunition.
but we care.
We care. And I'm sure there are others out there that will join us in caring. So really, I'm confident about that.
That's a beautiful center.
It is. And it was a conversion,
Senior center.
which I think is a great idea too. You know, taking
Not the
existing
building.
space, you know, and utilizing it, yes.
Well, I'm sure they'll be asking us soon to build another school, so maybe we can get Shaker Lane. Did I say that out loud?
Oh. Thank you, Chris. That was really, really very interesting.
Yeah, just wanted to share that.
Appreciate that. Any comments or questions for Chris? Okay, let's move on to E, which is the Cooper Farm public hearing. Discussion of the board position. As you probably all know, there is a hearing tonight on the Cooper Farm, or the Cooper land, I should say. I don't know if you all are aware that, and you probably have seen in the paper articles. I know George had an article in the guest commentary section of the Independent recently, and he has come forward and really come forth with this, feeling strongly about the fact that the town should, you know, utilize some of that Cooper land with the ultimate goal that maybe Park and Rec moves to the building, the house, and then the seniors in town get more space here at Shattuck Street. Essentially, that's what it was in a nutshell. That's simplifying it, but
But that's not
Just-
the proposal.
that
before
is
the
not,
board.
no.
Right now, the
We
boards,
want-
all the boards have been asked if they would like to vote either yes or no in support of the town exercising its right of first refusal. So the Cooper
Purchase,
property is in chapter land, and when chapter land is taken out of that protected category, the town has the first right to purchase it.
Right.
There's a bid on the table right now of $1.8 million from the Fields, Matthew Fields. And this board has been asked, like every other board has been asked, do we want to vote either yes or no on whether the town should move forward on a purchase?
I think there's a lot to talk about It's too bad Selectman Avella couldn't make it. It would have been great to talk to him about it, and in the context of the master plan and the master planning process, where I think that has indicated the townspeople see the preservation of open space and certain agricultural land as fundamentally important to protecting the rural character of the town, and especially those assets which are really crown jewels. There's none more so than this property. So it was going to be an interesting conversation to kind of hear how this fast-track process to waive right of first refusal, kind of how that fits in the context of the master plan process. But I think unfortunately for us, we're put in a difficult position, as are many boards, because this offer by Cheryl Gould in the Fields doesn't meet the Chapter 61A requirements for a bona fide offer due to its contingencies. And therefore, all the work of the boards that have been pursuing this over the last couple of weeks in fast track, fast track why, it's hard to understand that, are premature because there isn't a bona fide offer on the table. So do we vote, or do we send back a message and say, we have an opinion, but let's follow a proper process? It's a tough call.
Other comments? There is a hearing, it is a hearing.
Tonight.
Right, tonight.
Public hearing.
Public
Yeah.
hearing at 6:30. And certainly I'm planning on attending, representing the board. So it would be nice to
Yeah.
have a sense of
Yeah,
the board's opinion
I think it's
about this.
houses cost money. So if we think about the cost of each of these houses which are proposed and the impact on the seniors in our community. So moving past the protect rural character, preserve what has been the fabric of our community for decades, and you just have a dollars and cents conversation. If houses are built, and let's say there are 2 kids in each one, and we all know this, we all know these numbers, right? And it costs $12,000, $13,000 per student, and the state gives a couple $1,000s back. So if you're talking $11,000 per student, in those houses that'd be on average 2, maybe there's 1 like in my home, but maybe there are 4, right? So if there are 2 students in these houses, and assuming they're not special needs students, which are $50,000 to $100,000 or more, potentially on average, you're talking $22,000 minus the property tax, $9,000. You're talking about, what is that, $12,000, $13,000 net plus town services.
That's just for the schools.
Just for the
That's
schools.
not talking about anything else.
And so when we think about the tax implication for our seniors and anyone on a fixed income, and all of us, development has consequence beyond the impact on rural character. And we need time to consider that. But when you see proposals like, or recommendations like Sudbury Valley trustees, sounds consistent with Bob's opinion. I didn't get to read that in the paper because I don't get the paper. But Sudbury Valley trustees, right? So this is a regional land trust founded in 1953. They work in close collaboration with landowners, businesses, local conservation commissions, and government agencies to pursue land protection goals through land acquisition and stewardship, advocacy, and education. They've put a couple of interesting ideas on the table, including this kind of mixed-use way that some of the land be developed, some of, in instance, using the existing structure for a municipal purpose, and we could think of a lot of good things to do with that. Maybe using some for fields, turf fields or other, and creating other ways to have walking trails and buffers and protect the rural character, but find a blended approach. That all takes time for the town to kind of get through and the townspeople to weigh in on, and it's certainly a subject for town meeting. So it just brings back to the point, we, as the Council on
Excuse me,
Aging,
Chris, who's proposing that?
this is the Sudbury Valley trustees, and they've come up with a couple of alternative uses for the property.
Who?
Sudbury Valley trustees, and it sounds consistent with what,
That's the people who,
Yep.
for the town, this isn't,
Yep.
this isn't the developer. The developer
No.
would just totally develop
the
it.
developer, my understanding is the developer through
M&M
Cheryl
Realty.
Gould and Matt Fields are talking about houses and mixed use.
24 houses
Yeah.
and 12 over 55 properties.
Yeah,
And
but
again,
that's the whole lot.
Yeah, it's
If you-
30-some acres, so that's house
Yeah.
per acre.
To me, what's happening now is that if we put in the first refusal, it stops him from doing that until the town can make a decision as to how they, and then how, and this is
Yeah.
a couple of proposals on what the town might do with it.
You know what, I should have brought copies. I thought this was, for some reason, I thought Sudbury Valley trustees, their information was more distributed, but it's on my blog at ourlittleton.com. You can go check it and get it. Different ideas of folks who are in the business of figuring out how do you balance development, for which there has to be some, with preservation, which is certainly prudent to, and there's a balance. Their job is finding that. So I guess the question is, what's the rush when the impact on our citizens is so great? Why are we in this fast-track process in the middle of summer when there isn't even a bona fide offer on the table? Doesn't meet the Chapter 61 requirement for such. Therefore, there's no decision to make about whether we should retain our right of first refusal. That's subject to a bona fide offer, which there isn't. I don't understand necessarily that. I think we ought to have an opinion, but I'm confused.
I believe what the Board of Selectmen is asking each board to do is to express a yes or no on whether they would want the town to pursue a purchase. Because then it would have to come town meeting anyway.
In other words, if every board said no, and everybody said don't do it,
Then the
then
Board of
the
Selectmen,
board wouldn't spend the effort on it.
they would feel like the people weren't behind it.
A
Unless
right to
everyone says
protect our
yes.
our right of first refusal simply would allow us, as stewards of the land, it would be for the townspeople to decide what to do down the road, and maybe the townspeople, if it is the townspeople's decision. If it is down the road to develop it, then it could be developed. So it's simply a decision now to say, not now. Let's hold our options open. Sudbury Valley Trustees lays out where the money's coming from and how to distribute the costs, and they're talking about grants and...
Right, but we're not voting on that.
No,
We would be
we're-
voting to say, do we want to say, we're not interested and let the Fields buy it for 1.8 million and put houses on it? Or
Are we
do
interested?
we want to pursue the idea of exercising our right for refusal, or our right to purchase, which means that then we'd have to go to town meeting, we'd have to talk about borrowing, and there would be a big discussion at town meeting, I'm sure.
Yeah, I
about
think
the whole thing.
it's a decision about not letting a developer necessarily develop it and wanting the town to protect it.
I just think of what was going on with the one across the street, in front of the Neshoba, and that's gone on for years, and, you know, they want to change it. That's all that same section of property down on Great Road. And at some point, somebody's got to make some decisions as to how much preserve and how much not preserve, and
Yeah. I mean, again, it's too
much
bad.
bigger issue.
It's too bad that, you know, we didn't have the opportunity at this meeting to ask the town administrator or Selectman Avella about this process, about how it's come so far without there being a bona fide offer. It's putting pressure on this board and others to make a quick decision when one isn't necessarily warranted.
Well, you can go to the
Well,
meeting tonight.
we can go to the
Public
meeting tonight.
tonight, you can ask that question.
yes.
And we
This
can-
board doesn't have to vote anything.
Yep. I think, though, we should, in my thought, we share an opinion that we ought to be preserving this, or, you know, finding ways for the town to weigh in on a blended approach to what to do with it that doesn't equal filling it up with houses, but may not equal status quo. There's a proper balance that the people in this town can figure out if given the time and forum. Why, you know, we have the Fields, we have Cheryl Gould, who's chair of the zoning board, we have the selectmen, we have this fast-track process in the middle of summer when there's not a bona fide offer on the table. In and of itself makes me concerned, but maybe
I
that's...
mean, there's not a bona fide offer. Coopers have a bona fide offer from the developer,
No.
right?
But I'm no expert and I'm no lawyer, but
I
there's
don't
this
know what
Chapter
that-
61A requirement that says if it's a bona fide offer, it equals this. This is what's in the four corners, and this is what isn't.
Contingencies are not part of it.
Contingencies and the like.
Bona fide
And there are a number of contingencies which make it an offer which isn't valid in the context of bona fide for what. So right of first refusal is predicated on there being a bona fide offer,
And
which many say there isn't.
It isn't at this point.
It is not.
Even though.
Our town council has said that it is not a bona fide offer because of the
So-
contingencies
Okay.
and the, yeah.
That's fine.
Yes, Nancy?
One of the meetings I attended regarding this, the land is not valued at $1.8 million. They're including the wetlands, including the acreage, and it's not worth 1.8 million when you count in the wetlands. What they said at the meeting was it's valued at 840,000, which is a big difference. It's like $1 million less. So it's all very interesting. At the end of my street on Grist Mill Road, you might know about that huge development going up there on the Acton line versus the
You
way.
mean where they're all 6 inches apart?
That's
Yeah.
Sardine Village.
200 apartments, besides the little houses and the subdivision that went in. The school department, when it's all open, the first year is expecting 400 children.
And here we're talking about adding more. We haven't even dealt with that. That's already,
So what
you
I
know,
want you to
going to
pay
happen.
attention to, because we do have a lot of open space in Littleton, but when the land is gone, it's gone.
It's gone, yeah, but the
And-
point is, how much can you afford as a community to,
Yes, but can you afford the new schools that are gonna have to be built, a larger fire department, a larger police department, larger everything? Because we were faulty in this particular area I'm talking about. We didn't have enough, the 10% low affordable housing in town.
yeah, would you volunteer your garage to put a fire truck?
It wouldn't fit.
You know, I'm on the Board of Assessors, and we have 4 properties in town that are coming out of chapter, and that's just in the first half of the year.
Yep.
So there is a lot going on in town.
Yes, there is.
And a chapter property by definition has to be more than 5 acres.
Hmm.
So there's a lot happening.
That's
Some
interesting.
of them are very good-sized parcels,
If
like the
our-
tree farm.
If our taxes go up because of the buying of the Cooper property, the taxes will go up a lot more when houses are there.
Yeah.
but this-
The
Christie, you wanna
house is
make a
paying
rec-
taxes.
You
You're
wanna
so right,
recommend-
but the Sudbury Valley trustees, and this is their business, has been since 1953, they're suggesting that there's a state land grant available of up to 300,000. Community Preservation Fund could have existing funds. A local farmer may purchase part of the property. And the cost for the abutters in the community could be as low as a couple $100,000. A couple $100,000 versus a net loss of $13,000 per property in school cost alone forever is nothing. Not to mention preserving the rural character of
Right.
this great town.
Chris, you seem to be more involved in this than most of us.
No, I'm really not. I mean, I did some quick reading just to, because it was on the agenda.
At this point, I'm not knowledgeable
Yeah.
enough to vote one way or another. My own feeling is.
yeah.
I have
I-
a question for Pam about the public reading tonight. It's at 6:30, but it says it's in room 107. Where's room 107?
Isn't that the multipurpose room? Isn't that really the number for the
103 is
multipurpose
what-
room?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
No, 103 is the selectmen's room.
Right.
I believe 107 is the
Oh.
actual number of the multipurpose room.
Thank you.
Are the only
I think
choices,
they might be anticipating a big turnout.
are the only choices we have to say, yes, we want to preserve our right of first refusal, or no, we don't?
That's all they're
That's
asking
all
us.
they're asking
That's all they're
for
asking of us
now.
right now.
Which,
Are we interested or not? Do we want the fields to take it, or are we interested
Might-
in exploring?
see, I'm not ready to say,
purchase?
take it yet, because I just think there's too many things that we don't know, and
Could we do just a quick straw poll, just to understand, does anybody think we should just let it go, the land?
No.
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 So the question then is, do we, as the Council on Aging, and I feel a little bit funny in this sense, because you've been patient with my youth and inexperience, as has been
If
pointed
we're a
out.
bigger board, you could hang back and not say anything.
But do we have a responsibility, do we, everyone in this room, to say, wait a second, just in terms of governance, just in terms of how we're going about this, not what the decision is, but how do we reach it, that we together collectively, the town and its boards, we're not, this doesn't make sense. The process, the law, the rules, we're not following it. So why are we being asked to make a decision on right of first refusal when the process hasn't been followed? Right? Should we send a message back to the selectmen that we don't think that this has been followed? we don't understand what's been asked of us because there is not a bona fide offer. Because otherwise, are we contributing to just a false conversation that the town's having about right of first refusal? There's no offer. So are we contributing to it by going along with it? I mean, we're old enough and we can just say, wait a second, time out. It doesn't make sense. Board of Selectmen, we don't understand. There isn't a bona fide offer. And until there is one, let's continue this conversation because it's important. Our opinion is that we preserve that land, first and foremost. And while we do it, we have the town have a conversation. There's a master planning process. It will speak about the town's value for that property. Let's give that time to happen. So that's our opinion. And
All right.
Pam, are all the town directors been asked the same question?
All the boards
Boards.
were asked,
All the boards
all
have
the
been asked
boards
that?
were asked. Yeah.
Even considering
consider a
Chris's,
vote.
pardon me?
They've been asked to consider a vote, yes or no, on the purchase.
Yeah, I sent you guys the exact email that I
There are three
received.
choices.
They've all been
Yes,
asked the
no, or
same, yes.
or nothing.
Considering all of Chris's arguments, they have been asked that question.
Yes.
And when have the boards been asked to respond to that question? By when?
Today,
Today.
Today?
before
Tonight.
6:30. They actually wanted it last
Oh,
Friday.
before
but
the
we
meeting
didn't-
tonight.
We didn't meet.
Well,
until Friday,
then,
so we couldn't
we
do anything.
either say yes or no. That's the point, right? And I take all of your arguments into consideration. I listened to everything you said. Then I propose we take a vote and give Pam an answer so she can take it back to the board.
And let's explain what we're voting. If we say yes, all we're saying is preserve the right,
Yes.
period. And
That's all we're
then
saying.
somebody needs to get the rest of this.
Is that correct?
That Chris was
If we
saying.
say yes, we're just saying we give you the right to preserve.
We're saying
Well-
that we want to
But we-
preserve the right for the town to buy it.
we let the,
Yes, okay.
Barbara,
I just wanted that
Excuse me.
clear after all this conversation that I know what I was voting on.
I agree.
True, because you can take things sometimes two ways.
Yes.
So if you just have it clear, that's good. The only thing I feel, if you don't do anything, that might give them the right to put it wherever they want.
No, I feel we need to speak as a board. But I think, Chris, you put it very well, and Pam, that the decision is, do we agree that the selectmen should preserve help preserve this land and they would be
By a yay vote.
by a yay vote, correct?
And I should
So-
mention that this group, it appears, is very much in support of that, but there is a large and vocal group that is quite opposed and says, we have enough open space in town and we don't want to do this, and let them take it and put houses on it. Now, I don't know if
Yeah,
any of
there
you
are.
have encountered any of those people, but I've run into a couple of them and they're quite, yes, that's a good way to put it, yeah. There's a group that says, no, we spent enough money on open space, this is the end. And Chris, you make a good point from the Sudbury Valley trustees, that, the town doesn't have to scrape up the 1.8 million, that there are lots of other
There's
places
ways,
where
right.
funding can be obtained.
Right.
But we're not voting on the funding piece, we're just
No.
voting on, do we want to even consider it?
I honestly feel we need, so it sounds like we need to vote, and we know how that will look. But we also need to send back an opinion that there isn't a bona fide offer, according to the town council, and therefore, the value has not been set, the cost to the town is not known, and, that's not fair.
Too many unanswered questions,
It's not fair
essentially.
to the
And
townspeople.
there's a lack of information, factual information.
We have a town council. He has said it doesn't meet a bona fide offer. There
So-
isn't one. That is the first domino to fall. It hasn't. So if there is a first refusal to protect, we should take a vote. But we should also send back a message that we're deeply concerned that our seniors and all the townspeople and taxpayers are not being, the needs are not being best met if there's really not a bona fide offer. Is or isn't there a bona fide offer?
Well,
We-
there is not a bona fide offer. I think we have to accept what the town council has said, certainly. Isn't
Yeah,
that
it
his
says that
job?
there is.
So I
He
think-
has already said, there is not a bona
How do we
fide
want
offer.
to,
So I
So-
propose two votes. A vote I propose a vote on the matter at hand, and I propose a
Would you like
vote.
to specify that?
vote to add an addendum saying,
Yep.
okay.
And a second vote asking for clarification of the selectmen on this point that we're asking. Maybe we don't have to instruct, but we can ask for clarification.
Okay. Give me your first vote.
So the first is a, motion to entertain the request that we render an opinion on whether or not the towns, through the Board of Selectmen, should preserve our right of first refusal on this, or frankly,
Well, the motion should be
any.
either for or against.
We vote.
Not an opinion, but it should be the opinion.
Mhm.
Are you
Okay.
motioning for or against
Mhm.
preserving the right?
What is your motion?
Sure. Right, and so,
You gotta state your motion,
yeah.
please.
that-
That the board, that you, go ahead. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, you know what? Why don't you state the motion? Because you have.
Can't
I
do that.
can't as the chair.
You've already made it.
Okay.
Chris Simone moved, Bob Stetson seconded that the board is in favor. You can vote it down if you
preserving
want to.
our first right of refusal, FROR, first right of refusal.
Wait a minute, is in of maintaining the right of the first right of refusal, excuse me. By the town, okay. Chris Simone moved, Bob Stetson seconded that the board is in favor of maintaining the first right of refusal by the town.
Maintaining? I don't like that word, excuse me, but
That's what
you've
they're gonna
made
do.
the
Is
Is
it
it
motion.
exercising?
Right of
Perhaps it's
refusal.
I
exercise.
think it's exercising is the word.
Perhaps it's
Exercise, okay.
exercise.
Exercising.
Exercises. Okay.
Exercises.
Mhm.
And the letter will come directly from the minutes that Bob sent me. It will be exactly that wording.
We need it tonight, though.
Well, Bob will send it to me right away.
Okay.
Won't you, Bob?
Of exercising the first right of refusal of the town. The vote was
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
unanimously in favor.
Unanimously.
So I'd like to put the second motion on the table.
Okay.
And that motion is for the board to request of the Board of Selectmen clarification on the legal status of the offer which was made through Attorney Cheryl Gould and her clients, the Fields. Does that offer meet the requirement of a bona fide offer?
Town council has already said it does not.
But then the
So I don't
question,
get why you're asking it.
because there's obviously, why are we being asked as a board to decide if a right of first refusal, first right of refusal
there's
ought to be,
another-
ought to be exercised when there is no offer? We've made, if there is an offer, we've said what we think. But the question is there a bona fide offer? And can you please talk to us about that? We're simply asking for clarification.
I would
I
say at
would
this point,
say-
we're not. We're making a statement
Right.
that we do not feel that, at this point, that there was a bona fide offer per the town council, and question why we were asked.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's better.
I
That
think
makes-
that's better.
That makes more sense.
Makes more sense, yes.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me
I agree with
to-
Bob.
Yeah.
Bob said it well.
And who are we stating this to? Who's the actual?
This is addressed to the Board of Selectmen. Will be addressed to the Board of Selectmen. I'll put a letter
Board of
together,
Selectmen.
and I will quote directly from your minutes about these votes. It'll say something like in the August 10th meeting of the COA board, they voted to, and verbatim, I will say that.
I'll try and get this, then we can change it. Okay, second vote was taken to state from the COA board to the Board of Selectmen. That, what?
What did you say a few minutes ago? Because you phrased it well. I thought that's what you were writing.
What did I say?
I thought that was what he was writing too.
Yeah, so I'm confused now.
That the, I think you said the town
That
council.
since the
Thank you.
town council has stated there is no bona fide offer.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we being asked to,
I don't know what the
Yeah.
state from the board, that since then,
I mean, that could be, actually, we could
we do not
get rid of the first vote.
No, I think we want to stick with the first vote, for the record. If there were a
Right.
bona fide
We-
offer,
we could just make
this
one.
is our opinion.
Okay.
I think that's
no
what they're
bona
really
fide
after.
offer.
I think they think they're gonna come up with one
Because the state,
like that.
two state from the board,
I know. I
that
gotta call.
we do not understand why
You know, it was
we
hand-delivered the day after town meeting.
are
Right.
asked for
That was
this
I didn't know
trying
that.
to,
vote.
trying to force us into a town meeting in the summer.
Okay, here's what I've got. A second vote was taken to state that, to state from the board, from the COA board to the Board of Selectmen, that since the town council has stated there is no bona fide offer, that we do not understand why we are asked for this vote.
Yeah,
No.
simple.
Why we are being asked, you can't say this vote, because what vote are you talking about?
Previous vote.
The
Yeah.
previous vote, then.
Mm-hmm.
Or the previous vote.
Nice.
At this time,
I think they, well,
Yep.
that's just conjecture anyway.
I would suspect that that all would be addressed when
Good.
the fire came up. When everything erupted, anyway. It would have to be.
All right, would you like
Okay.
to read them so we can vote? I think we finally got them down, just
Well, you already voted on the first one, right?
the second
right, we've
one.
already voted on the first one. so-
Second one.
Okay, second vote was taken to state from the Board of, COA Board to the Board of Selectmen, that, quotes, since the council has stated there is, since the,
Legal
I said
counsel,
town council, but
town council.
since the, okay, I did have it in there. Since the town council has, wait a minute, I'm sorry, has stated there is no bona fide offer, that we do not understand why we are asked to, for the previous vote at this time.
Yeah, but we're not saying what we expect, we're just saying we don't understand it, so what are they gonna do about it? I mean, we're not asking them to clarify for us in that, the way it's worded. It's just making a statement that we don't understand why we're being asked for that,
Yeah.
so is that your purpose?
Is
Yeah,
that okay?
I think it's a fair question. Yep,
Okay.
simple.
Not a question,
Okay, it's a fair statement.
It's a comment.
it's a comment, so
Okay.
we're voting on a comment
Isn't it our responsibility?
to vote on the comment we're making to the
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen. Okay, all right, just wanna make sure that we're all clear on that.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's a unanimous vote. Doesn't make sense to go.
Okay.
All right. All right, and I think Pam just handed out, are we done with the Cooper property?
Thank you.
Okay. Pam just handed out a this is what the handout
Yeah,
is that
this
you
is
just
the
gave
TRED,
us. It's
yeah.
on the TRED program. I'll let you talk about it.
So what I've given you is a copy of the statute that supports the TRED program. So, to back up for a minute, last year, the Board of Selectmen asked us to improve the services from the Council on Aging and Elder and Human Services and to provide tax relief. And we brought 2 items forward to town meeting to try to improve the tax situation, the deferral, and I'm blanking on the second one. Oh, raising the personal exemptions
Right.
by 50% as opposed to 20%. Very well received, passed without any difficulties at all at town meeting. Very recently, it has come to my attention that there's a program called the TRED program, and this is the statute that protects it. The TRED program, it stands for Tax Relief for Elders and the Disabled. And in this program, if a town chooses to do so, you can set up a fund that property tax owners can contribute to voluntarily, and then that money can be used for seniors and the disabled who meet income guidelines as being low income to help them to defray the cost of their property tax. And some of the details that are outlined in the statute are, there's a commission that's put together. It includes the treasurer. It includes the 3 members that are appointed by the Board of Selectmen. Can't remember who else is supposed to be involved in that.
Board committee, you're down in the
Oh,
middle paragraph
the
here.
board of, the chairman of the Board of Assessors is a member of that. And Keith suggested that we might want to ask the tax collector to be a member of that group. And the commission, in essence, is responsible for establishing the fund, seeing that it's handled appropriately, and it gets handled just like any other trust funds that the town establishes. And then they would vote on dispersal of those funds. I've been in conversation with Westford about the nuts and bolts of how they do this. One piece of it that they're doing and happy with is that it is administered through their Council on Aging. So their outreach worker is the person who takes applications from people who are interested in the program and then vets them out as to whether they meet the qualifications, but then it all goes back to this group of commissioners that vote on whether to disperse the money and to whom. I bring it before you because I think this would be another way that we could provide some tax relief for worthy seniors. They would be low-income seniors and the disabled in town. They would have to be disabled through a state commission. We can provide some tax relief for them without raising the tax burden to the town, because the money is all voluntarily contributed. I think that makes it attractive to people in town. I think it would make it very attractive to the Board of Selectmen. I talked it over with Keith. He seemed to think the same thing. And the suggestion I would make is that this board ask the Board of Selectmen to consider placing this on the warrant.
I can't see, it makes me think of our our taxes, you know, where you're asked if you want to contribute $1 towards.
The presidential campaign.
Yeah, the
fund.
presidential
Right.
campaign. And it makes me think of that, you know, and if every household in town contributed $1, imagine. You know, so it's a win-win, I think, situation.
Some of the reasons it's attractive to me is, first of all, there is a vetting process. It's not just anyone. It is low-income people,
Right.
and it is the disabled. Second, it's not going to cost the town a penny to do this, other than the time that's involved with managing it. And on the plus side, the money that's collected is handled like a trust, and it's invested, so there's even a little gain to be made for the town in terms of the interest on the money, which nowadays is like pennies, but who knows where it's going to go in the
Right.
future.
Okay, what I've got down is that the board voted to recommend the Board of Selectmen adopt this program and prepare a warrant item.
Adopt the.
TRED program.
TRED program.
TREAD, T-R-E-A-D.
All right. Do we have a second for the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Patty.
Second.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Excellent.
All right. Now, reports. We're getting there, folks, we're getting there. We knew this was gonna be long, I didn't think it was gonna be this long, though.
Okay, you have the two reports of the budget. They have, if you look at them, next month you'll see a couple of things changing, like fiscal years, which I didn't get changed totally. It's the office budget for 2016. But all of the new budget figures are in according to the town. And on both the Mount report and on the director's report, for instance, you'll see that the office budget includes the new salary for the director, the new salary for the outreach coordinator, and the others. Formula Grant and Friends have been adjusted to be the same, the new items. And all the other budget items are exactly the same as last year, and that would be up to Pam to change them if she wants to change them. But at this point, that's what they are in the town budget. And there's nothing spectacular to see. Obviously, Pam hasn't been doing anything this last month because she didn't spend any money, except for her salary. And the Mart budget, the same way. We had 436 riders, 187.75 hours, 5 drivers, and there were no other expenditures that were in the program. So,
And I'm happy to report that we billed Mark precisely $68,000. We'll make them cough up every dime they owe us.
good.
Even though they refuse to pay for the dispatcher.
Have they still refused?
They refused to pay for the dispatcher, and the town agreed to pay for it, so that's another $10,000 for transportation that we didn't have to spend out of our budget.
But we'll find a way to get our 68 back.
They said they would pay for fuel. So we had over
They're gonna switch it
$11,000
over
in
and put
fuel
fuel.
last year, so I put in enough from the fuel to make it come up to 68,000.
Okay,
It was very interesting.
good enough.
Okay. You're on.
Okay, director's reports. You'll see that there are 2 director's reports, one for the end of June, that's in the July report, which includes some summary information, and then one for July, which is, of course, the start of the new fiscal year. And I draw your attention to the one that's dated July 15th. That's the one that has all the bright colors and stuff. We've already talked a little bit about the summary of the needs assessment. And then in the back section, there's a summary of the senior tax work-off program. We had a very successful year with the senior tax work-off program. You can see the number of different departments that we were involved with. There's some stats here. Out of our $55,000, we had 100 properties enrolled. There were 113 workers because some properties had 2 people. Total payout was $585. That was the maximum payout. There's some information in here. This went to the selectmen as well for their benefit on how the benefit is calculated. And then you'll notice it mentions the risk factor. So last year, we had noticed in the previous year that we didn't spend all our money. So we went back and we did an analysis of the previous 3 years, and we found that very consistently year to year, we don't spend 10 to 11% of the money.
Ooh.
10 to 11% of the hours don't get worked that are allotted. This happens when a person signs up for the program and then withdraws. It also happens if a person signs up, they're allotted, in this case, 65 hours, but they only work 10. And there's lots of reasons why people do that. It's just one of those things that happens. So I always build in on top of the amount, we settle on 11%. We thought that was a reasonable risk factor. And if you look at this chart, you can see that unlike 2 years ago, where the red shows that we didn't spend all of our money, the last 2 years we're getting much, much closer in spending the $55,000. Reason why that's important is because that $55,000 comes out of the overlay, and it doesn't do any benefit of going anyplace else. It's not like money in my budget where if I don't spend it on office supplies, I can spend it on postage. It's not really our money. So we spend what we can, and then the rest of it just disappears.
May I note that one of the things that you left off here, in the number of departments using the senior tax workers, you don't have your own department on there.
Well, that's in the narrative line.
Yeah.
You know, I wrote this for the Board of Selectmen, and a lot of people assume that we're the ones who use all the
Well, I would
workers. So
still
that's why I
put it-
mentioned
I
all
would still
the.
put it down as Health and Human Services being one of the areas that uses it.
Well, I put down here that they support the Meals on Wheels program, the Hot Lunch program, the Diner, the Dementia Support Group, work as COA receptionists, work as friendly visitors to the homebound, and conduct programs such as the AARP Tax Assistance Program. But I can change that and add to it
I would just
in the
add, I would
Department
just
of
add
Elder
the
and
name to
Human
that
Services.
list. I think that's
Yeah, sure.
important for them to realize we too use it.
Oh, yeah. But there's lots of other departments that use us and use it extensively and get a great benefit from the program. Some other successes of the program, last year for the first time, nobody got bounced out of the program, which was kind of nice. Didn't have any departments call me up and ask me to take a person away.
Oh.
And I would like people to know that if you're in the tax program and you are over 70 years of age and you can get your OBRA back, you can now go down, because I did it today, and get your papers and get them filled out and get them signed by the treasurer, by the Human Resources Director, and send them in, and you can get your OBRA money back before they expend it all at $245 a month, $247 a month, taking it out as a fee, and you end up at the end of the year getting nothing back.
That's
So,
true. Well, it's true. I got my check back from them. I got mine back.
You got it already?
I got it already.
Because I didn't do it until late last year, and I only
Oh, I
ended up
did it a
paying
long
about
time ago, but it
4
takes a long
o'clock.
time.
Well, this is the new one. The new one that just went in was just mailed to the OBRA. So you now can get last year's
Oh, wait a minute.
before they start
I got
taking
mine
all
back.
those fees out of it.
Isn't a lot, but hey, it's money.
It's also interesting to note that for the first 2 years that I was administering the program, the sales in town were really flat, so we didn't have anybody sell a house. This year, we had someone sell a house, and so for the first time, we developed a procedure of what do you do when someone sells their home and they've been in the program. Because, of course, the program, no money actually changes hands, it's processed as an abatement. And if you are not owning the property any longer, we can't process an abatement that's based on you as a senior owning the
That's
property.
true.
So we came up with a kind of a sliding scale process that says if we're within the about 60-day window of the tax year, yes, it'll be processed as an abatement because you haven't closed yet. But we had somebody sell their house like on June 20th of the year, and so that got processed as just a payroll. Didn't come out of the 55,000, and that's part of the reason that we're down a little bit and didn't spend all our money, because I had anticipated that that money would be spent by the program. But I think we've got a good handle on that. That involved a cooperative effort between the assessors, payroll, Ann Esman, and HR.
Never thought about that
and all
happening,
that.
yeah.
Well, we didn't have to think about it because things were so flat. Now all of
Yeah.
a sudden, things are off and running. We've also added to the intake procedure. I had 17 new people sign up this year, by the way. We've added to the intake procedure that I just asked people flat out, do you think there's any chance that you'll sell your house before you receive your abatement? So we can start the process of getting them thinking about how they need to let us know about things like that. So that's the year-end summary, and then nothing particular outstanding. Transportation remains busy. Everybody remains busy. September is going to be a huge month. We have so much scheduled as people really start to get back into the swing of things. We've got a hearing clinic. We have obviously the presentation on the needs assessment coming up. We're going to be running a writing workshop for people who want an opportunity on a disciplined way every week to write. That's going to be run by a journalist who's approached us. We're going to be running some relaxation sessions. It's a senior tax worker who's a psychologist, has a background in self-hypnosis. So there's a lot happening, and
When's that one?
Yeah, that sounds good.
yeah, that'll be on Thursdays in September. We brought in some great talent with the new people. I picked up a new nurse for the blood pressure clinic, picked up a lot of interesting people, and quite a few younger seniors that came to the tax program. Questions?
Sounds great. I commend you, and I really wasn't, I was only kidding when I said you didn't do anything in July.
Oh, yeah, July was really a fun month because it was end of year.
This program is another example of how much work, though, in all seriousness, that
Yep.
goes into administering each of these programs. You just don't realize it till you see it.
Well, it's a huge amount.
I had.
A lot of skill required, too.
I had 7 people that worked with me for 2 weeks straight signing people up. And there were times when every single one of them was paired up with somebody
Right.
going through the paperwork, getting them signed up for the program. And we get tremendous support from the other parts of the town. Great support from payroll, great support from Ann Esplin in helping us to sort things out and keep it legal and yet meet the requirements, so. But it's a win-win-win, you know, the departments get help that they wouldn't have otherwise, the people get some tax relief. We get people, you know, we've been flat in terms of our hiring for so long, and this is just a great way for us to get people to help us out, like running programs and running the front desk, and Tina's friendly visitors, and she's picked up some great people that way.
All right. Tina, I think we're finally up to, it's your turn.
And then I have to run right after
Yeah.
this because I have an appointment.
Oh, you go.
As do I.
Are you going to make it all right?
Oh, yes, she's just downstairs
Okay.
waiting and knew I would be a few minutes late.
Okay.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought months ago that we had voted on bringing Tina up with the Friends.
We talked about that, but she didn't want to move. I remember asking, no?
I don't remember being told about it. I said, whatever you do is, you know, I don't.
Oh,
really
maybe,
remember
I
ever being
remember,
in
well, I
the
was
meeting.
I mentioned it, and
I thought we voted on bringing,
we didn't vote on it. I think we talked about it, but I heard, I'm trying to remember when, that Tina likes to sit through our meeting, though, so
She
Well,
would
we
miss
moved the
us.
Friends to the beginning so
Right.
that they could leave if they
Right.
wanted to. Tina doesn't want to leave. Tina likes to hear what we have to say.
But would you desire, let's address it
Well,
again.
just on today, it's running a little late.
We
because
are.
My
that's the
appointment is.
reason we.
But any time that happens.
Yeah.
In case you did have something in the
Right.
afternoon, you know, later on.
Right,
Madam
and
Chair?
as I understood the question, they asked if they could wait before bringing that to me again about being bumped up, and I said, sure, you can wait till when you bring it up again, but thank you for bringing it up, it would be
I'm
helpful.
sorry, I
Yeah.
thought we already voted on
Okay.
bring her up.
Yeah.
Of course, you could always ask at any point
Okay.
to,
Right.
to be considered
We
early.
can move you up on the agenda. That's easily
You have to
done.
leave early.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be.
We
good.
don't
Gives
plan
me
on
the
running
flex-
meetings this late every month.
Okay.
No,
Well, it
no.
gives me- And then what happened, it didn't become an issue because the meetings were ending promptly at 3.
Right, right.
So then I could catch up, you know, by leaving promptly at 3.
No, well, I'm not
1 month
anticipating.
and 3, and she wants to have ball that way.
Madam Chair, on that point, I have a 3:30 appointment here in town. Would it be okay if I excuse myself at this point for that?
I would imagine.
Still have a
Thank
quorum.
you.
We still have a
Thank you.
quorum. I
Okay.
don't know that we need,
You better hurry.
Thank you.
yes.
That's it.
And go
Thank you,
ahead,
Chris, for
Tina,
all your input today.
Tina's running late too,
See you
so
later, Chris.
go right ahead.
That's great. Okay, so a synopsis of the summer in general was, at the end of June, we had the Catholic Heart Work Camp, and we had 10 homes that had minor home repair by the teenagers from across the country that were staying at the Lawrence Academy and coming to Littleton every day. That worked out really well. Got all the evaluations back. Every one of them was, please, we love this program, please keep this program going. And then the next month, we had the farmers market coupons, which unfortunately, even being given a generous amount, it's not enough to meet the need for the people that are financially eligible for it, so we keep a waiting list. And we've just completed that program now too, off the waiting list that we had from last year. So most are on an every other year.
What farmer's market is this?
Well, the farmers market, we don't have one here in Littleton.
Right.
So they have to go to other towns that have them, and there's one in
okay.
Shirley. There's a whole list. I have a whole booklet
But
of
they-
all the towns.
Oh, okay, so that they can go to one and they will accept their vouchers.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
they will. They all accept them, and, you know, they're like $25 and $2.50 vouchers. and that's, you know, how they spend them in $2.50 vouchers. And the program's highly successful and
Very popular.
Very popular. So we always say yes, and we'll take the most you can give us whenever Minuteman, who administers the program, asks us if we want to participate again. So all the support groups and ongoing caregivers groups, they're all going well. You know, we have some good speakers lined up over the next 3 months. I also have Loaves and Fishes Food Pantry Director Patty Stern came in last week, and she gave us some nice new brochures, 2 ways, how to volunteer and how to access the program if needed. I have those with me. And also the Alzheimer's sent us some brochures on the walks that are coming up, and there's 2 considered in our area. You're welcome to go to New Hampshire or whatever to do the walk, but the 2 closest to us would be in Worcester and in Andover. If anyone wants to get a team together and do a walk, you know, to earn money for Alzheimer's, I have the brochures here if you'd like. And then the Friends asked me to mention, because they had to leave early, they have 17+ people attending bingo every Friday from 1 to 2:30. They have many prizes, and that it's going very well with the volunteers. I know we have a young middle schooler with his high school sister and the mom that are coming to break down the tables and put them up, which is a big help, they've been saying. And they're able to continue, you know, through the summer, helping with that.
Excellent.
Great.
Any questions? No? And thank you for being willing to move me
Yeah.
up for other meetings.
We'll
I
do that
appreciate
easily.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, no report from
Barbara.
seniors.
No,
Oh,
no,
I'm sorry.
Barbara, the senior diner and
And the bingo.
bingo, well, we already heard about bingo.
I talked to Ellen Arujo this morning about the bingo, and she said the same thing. They're averaging 17 people,
Huh?
which is great.
Summer, that's great.
You know, a few new people, and they're very happy with the prizes, and it's going very well. And she mentioned the help setting up, you know, and Carrie Brenner,
Bremer, yes.
comes to help call numbers when Eric can't be there. The kitchen is going fine. I just wish we could get back.
Could even get better and get
Yeah.
back into this building, right?
It's very nice over there, and, but, you know, we've lost several people that would have been dropping in down
Right.
here, so,
There's a whole social piece of things that is missing, has been missing.
yeah, but it's nice for the people over there to, they've all commented on
Mhm.
coming to the kitchen when people are there and joining in, and it's nice for them over there too, so it's working out, but
It's not home.
it's not home.
No.
And evidently,
Oh, and also, we had
can't
some
enhance
really
it.
nice help, good help, in cleaning out the kitchen, in emptying, you know, all the stuff, moving it out and packing it in the, pod out in the backyard. A couple of men, which was very helpful. Carrie, you know, did all the carting and toting, and it was a lot of work, but we got it done.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, which we got rid of a lot, and we hope to get rid of a lot more when we bring it back in.
I think, you know, on the upside though, I mean, I know I don't go to all the groups that are going on, but I know Stretch and Flex has seen a lot of new people, new faces, I think. Don't you agree, Barbara?
Where?
Stretch and Flex.
Oh, yeah.
There's been
yeah.
a lot of new people for the summer. That's
Yeah.
unusual, I think.
Yeah.
But I would say there's probably, what, 4 or 5 new people?
New people, yeah.
That
And
have joined the group.
It's been about 12 to 15.
Yeah, throughout the
But,
summer.
you know, there are several people that are away,
Right.
you know, like Bob and Ellie, and Dottie's on vacation, so regular people are away on vacation, and they're coming. But we have picked up several new people, so. it's going
And generally, previous years in the summer, from my experience,
Yeah.
it's always been a much smaller group and it's much, you know, slower, so. All right. I think I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion. That was a long one.
Second?
Hurry.
This group has a lot to consider.
Very good.
Well, we knew this was gonna be long, but I didn't think it was, my son's been trying to get me. I know what's going on.
thank you all for